here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others, they're all Democrats.
Jeffrey Epstein's story is one of the most intriguing and disturbing tales of wealth, power, and influence in modern history. Born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, Epstein grew up in a modest family, but quickly climbed the social and financial ladders through a combination of ambition, connections, and controversial dealings. By the time of his death in 2019, his net worth was estimated at nearly $600 million, a fortune built on financial advisory services to the ultra-wealthy, strategic investments, and a web of offshore entities that allowed him to minimize taxes and maximize secrecy. But how exactly did a man without a college degree amass such riches? Let's delve into the foundations of his empire. Epstein's career began in the 1970s when he taught math and physics at the prestigious Dalton School in Manhattan. It was there that he caught the eye of a parent, Alan Greenberg, the head of Bear Stearns, a major Wall Street firm. Greenberg hired Epstein as a junior trader in 1976, and within 4 years, Epstein had become a limited partner at the bank. However, his time at Bear Stearns ended abruptly in 1981 amid allegations of regulatory violations, including lending money to a client for insider trading. Undeterred, Epstein founded his own financial consulting firm, Intercontinental Assets Group, later rebranded as J. Epstein and Company, targeting billionaires who needed help with complex financial structuring, tax avoidance, and asset management. The cornerstone of Epstein's wealth was his long-term relationship with Leslie Wexner, the billionaire founder of L Brands, which owns Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works. Starting in the late 1980s, Epstein managed Wexner's finances, gaining power of attorney over his assets. This gave Epstein unprecedented control, allowing him to handle investments, real estate transactions, and even philanthropy on Wexner's behalf. In return, Epstein received hefty fees, estimated at over $200 million over the years. One notable transaction was the transfer of Wexner's New York townhouse, a 40,000-square-foot mansion on East 71st Street, valued at $77 million, to Epstein for just $1 in 1998, though it was later revealed to be part of a larger financial arrangement. Wexner also provided Epstein with seed money for his hedge fund and even sold him a Boeing 727 jet, which became infamous as the Lolita Express. Beyond Wexner, Epstein's client list included other titans of industry. Leon Black, the co-founder of Apollo Global Management and a billionaire private equity mogul, paid Epstein around $158 million between 2012 and 2017 for tax and estate planning advice. Black described these payments as compensation for legitimate financial services, but the relationship raised eyebrows, especially since it continued after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor. Black eventually settled a lawsuit with the U.S. Virgin Islands for $62.5 million in 2023, denying any wrongdoing. Another key client was Glenn Dubin, a hedge fund manager who founded Highbridge Capital Management. Epstein earned $15 million for introducing Dubin to J.P. Morgan Chase, which later acquired a stake in Highbridge for $1.3 billion. Epstein's financial network extended into the world of high-stakes investments and offshore havens. In 1998, he established the Financial Trust Company in the U.S. Virgin Islands, taking advantage of the territory's Economic Development Commission program, which offered up to 90% tax exemptions on corporate income. This move saved him hundreds of millions in taxes. His firm reported revenues exceeding $800 million from 1999 to 2018, with Epstein personally netting at least $490 million. He also founded Southern Trust Company in 2011, which focused on DNA analysis and health investments, further diversifying his income streams. Recent 2025 Senate Finance Committee investigations, led by Senator Ron Wyden, have probed how the IRS failed to scrutinize these tax arrangements, alleging that Epstein's highly lucrative tax planning work was overlooked despite his criminal history. In a surprising revelation from 2025, documents showed Epstein invested $40 million in Valor Ventures, a fund backed by billionaire Peter Thiel, the PayPal co-founder and venture capitalist. This investment, made through Epstein's estate, has reportedly reaped significant returns, highlighting how his money continued to grow even after his death. Additionally, unsealed records from J.P. Morgan Chase in October 2025 revealed suspicious activity reports filed after Epstein's death, indicating potential money laundering tied to his accounts. Federal prosecutors had opened a financial crimes probe as early as 2007, parallel to the sex trafficking investigation, but it was never fully pursued. Epstein's wealth manifested in an extravagant portfolio of assets. His New York townhouse, with its 7 stories, heated sidewalks, and bizarre decor, including a stuffed tiger and a chessboard with custom pieces modeled after his staff, was the crown jewel. Valued at $51 million when sold in 2021, it featured hidden cameras and safes filled with cash and diamonds. In Palm Beach, Florida, he owned a waterfront mansion purchased for $2.5 million in 1990, which sold for $18 million in 2020. His Paris apartment on Avenue Foch near the Arc de Triomphe was a symbol of European elegance, fetching $10 million in a 2022 sale. Perhaps the most notorious properties were his private islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Little St. James and Great St. James, acquired for $7.95 million and $17.5 million respectively. Little St. James, dubbed Pedophile Island in tabloids, featured a temple-like structure, pools, and guest houses, all set amid 70 acres of seclusion. These islands were sold in 2023 for $60 million to billionaire Stephen Dekoff, who plans to transform them into a luxury resort by 2025. Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, a 10,000-acre spread with a 26,000-square-foot mansion, airstrip, and equestrian facilities, sold for an undisclosed amount in 2021 after being listed at $27.5 million. His fleet included the Boeing 727, equipped with bedrooms and conference rooms, along with a Gulfstream jet, helicopters, and luxury vehicles like Subarus and Cadillacs, over 200 in total at one point. Art and collectibles added to his fortune, pieces by Picasso, Warhol, and others, plus scientific curiosities like a collection of eyeballs from a medical supply company. At death, his estate included $56 million in cash, $14 million in fixed income, $113 million in equities, and $195 million in hedge funds and private equity. The estate's value has fluctuated dramatically post-2019. Initially pegged at $578 million, it distributed over $160 million to victims through a compensation fund, repaid a $30 million loan from Leon Black, and settled with the U.S. Virgin Islands for $105 million in 2022. A $112 million IRS tax refund in 2024 boosted it back up. But by March 2025, it stood at around $131 million after further legal fees and settlements. Recent House Oversight Committee releases in November 2025, including over 20,000 emails from Epstein's estate, shed light on these transactions, revealing ongoing ties to banks like J.P. Morgan, which paid $290 million to victims in 2023, and Deutsche Bank fined $150 million in 2020 for lax oversight. Epstein's power network was as vast as his wealth, intertwining with the world's elite across politics, business, academia, entertainment, and royalty. This web allowed him to maintain influence even after his 2008 conviction, as evidenced by thousands of emails released in 2025 showing persistent communications with influential figures. In politics, former President Bill Clinton was a prominent associate. Clinton flew on Epstein's jet multiple times, including trips to Africa for his foundation's work, and visited Epstein's homes. Emails show Epstein offering advice on Clinton's post-presidency image, and Maxwell attended Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010. Donald Trump, another Palm Beach neighbor, socialized with Epstein in the 1990s and early 2000s, once calling him a terrific guy in a 2002 interview. Trump flew on the jet once and competed with Epstein to buy a Palm Beach estate in 2004. However, Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after an alleged incident involving an underage staff member. Recent 2025 documents clear Trump of deeper involvement, but highlight shared social circles. Other political figures include Ehud Barak, former Israeli prime minister, who visited Epstein's townhouse multiple times and received investments from Epstein-linked funds. Larry Summers, former U.S. Treasury Secretary and Harvard president, sought Epstein's advice on economic matters and flew on his jet. Tom Pritzker, billionaire chairman of Hyatt Hotels, was mentioned in emails regarding potential investments. Stacey Plaskett, U.S. Virgin Islands delegate, communicated with Epstein post-conviction about local issues. Even Stephen Bannon, Trump's former strategist, emailed Epstein in 2018 seeking help with a film project. In academia and science, Epstein donated millions to institutions like Harvard, MIT, and the Santa Fe Institute, buying access to top minds. Marvin Minsky, AI pioneer at MIT, attended Epstein's gatherings. George Church, Harvard geneticist, discussed DNA research with him, receiving $1 million for his lab. Stephen Koslin, psychologist, got $200,000 and helped with PR. Gary Ruvkin, 2024 Nobel laureate in medicine, dined with Epstein in 2006. Yann LeCun, Meta's AI chief, met briefly for a brain project proposal. Howard Gardner provided reading lists, while Elkonan Goldberg pitched a $1.3 million neuroscience venture. Mark Tremo expressed loyalty in emails. The business world featured Bill Gates, who met Epstein multiple times starting in 2011, discussing philanthropy despite warnings from staff. Gates regrets the association, which contributed to his 2021 divorce. Mort Zuckerman, media mogul, invested with Epstein. Jess Staley, former Barclays CEO, maintained close ties, leading to his 2021 resignation. Apollo's Leon Black and Highbridge's Glenn Dubin were core clients, as mentioned. Hollywood connections included Woody Allen, who dined at Epstein's home and compared it to Dracula's castle. Harvey Weinstein shared publicists like Peggy Siegel and Mike Citrick, who crafted Epstein's image rehab. Kevin Spacey flew on the jet to Africa with Clinton. Chris Tucker joined similar trips. Naomi Campbell attended parties but denied knowledge of crimes. Magician David Copperfield was listed in flight logs. Royalty figured prominently with Prince Andrew, Duke of York, a close friend who stayed at Epstein's properties and faced allegations from victim Virginia Giuffre, settling a lawsuit in 2022 for $16 million. Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife, borrowed money from Epstein. Legal enablers included Alan Dershowitz, who defended Epstein and earned $4 million. Ken Starr, famous for the Clinton investigation, lobbied for the 2008 plea deal. Jay Lefkowitz negotiated the non-prosecution agreement, with his firm paid $3 million. Federal Judge Stephanie Thacker was on the prosecution team. At the center was Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner and co-conspirator, convicted in 2021 for sex trafficking. She recruited girls and managed the network, linking Epstein to her father Robert Maxwell's media empire contacts. This network wasn't just social, it was transactional. Epstein used his wealth to fund science conferences on his island, attracting Nobel laureates like Murray Gell-Mann and Frank Wilczek. He pledged $30 million to Harvard, but delivered only $9 million. His program for evolutionary dynamics at Harvard studied cooperation and punishment. Ironic, given his crimes. Post-2008, despite registering as a sex offender, Epstein's emails show he continued advising on investments, like a $100 million fund for a Middle Eastern royal. He pitched ideas to billionaires like Reid Hoffman and hosted dinners with figures like Catherine Rumler, Obama's White House counsel. In 2019, Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. He died in jail a month later, ruled a suicide, though conspiracy theories abound due to faulty cameras and guard lapses. His death triggered a cascade of lawsuits and revelations. By 2025, with Congress passing bills to release more DOJ files, the full extent of Epstein's network continues to unfold. Thousands of emails from his gvacation@gmail.com account, spanning 2009 to 2019, reveal pleas for help from elites, offers of introductions, and casual banter amid his legal troubles. For instance, publicist Mary Spaeth drafted apologies and was paid $6,900. PR pros like Howard Rubenstein and Dan Cloris managed his reputation. Epstein's legacy is a cautionary tale of how wealth insulates power. His estate, now managed by executors Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, has paid out millions, but still holds value. Victims like those in the Jane Doe suits continue seeking justice, with J.P. Morgan's $290 million settlement funding therapy and education. As investigations deepen, Senator Wyden's IRS probe, House releases, the question remains: how many in his network knew, and why did the system protect him so long? Epstein's story exposes the underbelly of elite society, where money buys silence and access, leaving a trail of ruined lives. To expand on the financial intricacies, consider Epstein's use of trusts and foundations. The 1953 trust, named after his birth year, held many assets, shielding them from taxes. His Gratitude America Linity Foundation donated to causes but also funneled money discreetly. In the Virgin Islands, he lobbied for tax breaks, even suing the EDC when they were threatened. Recent 2025 Bloomberg reports detail a 2007 money laundering investigation that fizzled, with Epstein wiring millions to accomplices. Prosecutors noted structuring to avoid reporting thresholds. In terms of specific transactions, Epstein flipped Wexner's Ohio properties for profits, like a $47 million mansion. He invested in startups via connections, like Thiel's fund, yielding returns for his estate. Turning to more connections, Michael Wolff, author, emailed Epstein about books. Deepak Chopra sought wellness collaborations. Sergey Brin, Google co-founder, visited the island. Elon Musk was mentioned in emails but denied close ties. In finance, James Staley's Barclays emails praised Epstein as knowledgeable. Apollo's black-wired payments labeled gratuity. Academia saw Epstein funding Martin Nowak's Harvard lab with $6.5 million, leading to Nowak's 2021 leave. Entertainment links included Mort Zuckerman co-owning New York Daily News, where Epstein influenced coverage. Politically, Epstein donated to Democrats like Chuck Schumer and hosted fundraisers. His death estate inventory listed oddities: $18,551 in prison commissary, thousands in foreign currency. As of November 2025, with Trump's calls for file releases, more names may emerge, like those in redacted masseuse lists and flight logs. This network's endurance post-conviction shows power's resilience. Epstein emailed from jail, planning comebacks. Victim stories like Giuffre's memoir highlight the human cost behind the luxury. In conclusion, Epstein's wealth was a facade for exploitation, his network a shield. As documents flow, society grapples with accountability. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of elite wealth and power, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Luxury Throne for more exclusive content on luxury lifestyles, high society secrets, and the thrones of the rich and famous. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.